Go ahead, Hannah.
Thank you. The next committee meeting this afternoon is Parks and Recreation, which is chaired by Councilmember Knudsen. So I'll turn it over to him.
Thank you, Madam President. We had 2 items. The first item is the third modification to lease agreement, Craft Studio at Boulevard Park, better known as Woods Coffee. With me on the committee today are Council Members Vargas and Anderson. So, Nicole.
Thank you, Councilmember Knudsen. This is a modification to our existing lease with Woods Coffee. Wes Herman is actually on the call if you have any questions. This is an additional 260 square feet that we're adding on, which contain the restrooms that are very, 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 very well used. These will be incorporated into the coffee shop and be able to serve the customers and the tenants. And it will happen. We have a separate meter that we built to be able to assign the cost of those utilities to the tenant. The terms that we made it so that once the restrooms actually open, that's when we'll start this transition. And they are going to take all the responsibility for maintenance and repair, utility costs, cleaning, security, and everything. And they'll be doing some remodeling. And that is all I have. This is a great co-partnership. It's a really, they've been wonderful tenants, and it's really added to be able to get a coffee down at the park has been something many, many people have enjoyed. So I don't like to think of it as losing restrooms, because the restrooms will still be there, but they will be for the customers. So we built a huge new restroom building that will be done here pretty soon. I'm thinking it'll be done by the end of this month. So we're really excited about this change and this progress down there to provide more sanitation for our very busy park.
Coffee and restrooms kind of go together, don't they? Mr. Herman, you want to say anything before we go to committee?
All I would say is that I've enjoyed the time in the park for many years now. And for many of you, you remember what that place used to look like. And I hope you understand that we've enjoyed this partnership, and we've worked hard to maintain this partnership, as well as maintain the space and making it look attractive and yet fitting into the park appropriately. And we've had nothing but great times, and we look forward to many more years ahead.
Thank you, sir. Councilmember Vargas.
Thank you, sir. I just wanted to thank Wes for wonderful collaboration over the years. You're a great partner. This is one of our top tourist destinations in the city. So obviously it's very important to us, because it's often the image that people leave our city with is that park. So I think, yay, we have more restrooms. That makes everybody happy, and really appreciate you being willing to take on the responsibility and taking care of that, and for this to be a pride in our tourism pocket. So thank you. Oh, and I'd like to move to accept the lease agreement.
Okay, motion been made to accept the lease agreement. Is there any further discussion? Any other council members? Councilmember Lillquist.
Yes, Gene, thanks for recognizing me on the committee. Mr. Herman, no offense, but have we looked into what market rate would be? They'll be paying over $2,000 a month, $26,000 a year, and it goes up year by year. How did we determine what a fair market rent would be, and how did we arrive at the that rental rate for the Woods Coffee?
We used the existing square footage rental rate and applied it to the existing square footage of the additional restrooms. And that is also in part recognizing the additional cleaning, maintenance, utility costs that will also be taken on by Woods for all the use associated with this restroom, and that keeping the restrooms running and available for the customers while also opening the new restroom. We felt like the best way to go about this was just to use the existing square footage rental rate on this building. When we renew the lease, then we would potentially renew, we would look at a market study to look at rates, but we also don't have a lot of comparable market rates to use to come up with a different one. And we're just excited that they want to take it on, that we have more restrooms, and their employees will actually be able to use the restroom, which has been a problem for them.
Thank you.
Okay, anybody else? Well, seeing none, we have a motion for the modification of the lease with Woods Coffee at Boulevard Park. All those in favor will say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. I will report that out tonight. Nicole, you stay right there because we now have an ordinance amending Bellingham Municipal Code Chapter 808.04 regarding parks and trails and providing new rules of electric assisted bicycles on trails, prohibiting smoking, reducing speed limits, and other updates. Nicole.
Yes, thank you. As you may recall, this came to you as a work session back on May 10th, and then we held a public hearing on May 24th. The concerns that were raised in the hearing were really useful and helpful in changing what was being proposed. I think this was a great example of public participation and meaningful public participation that we got from the community on these topics. And in 1 year, nobody minds e-bikes everywhere, but everyone was worried about the word overnight, which a year ago, it wouldn't have raised the same concern. So it just shows you what can happen in a year, and the awareness that we all have now in a year. And then the drones also, I think those changes came from quite some time ago, and we've learned so much. I've had great outreach from several people who want to work with us on drone rules. Given the overwhelming the comments that we shouldn't have any rules, it's not the top of my list to start working on rules for drones in parks. I have a lot of other things that I'd rather work on, so I'm not working on those right away unless you direct me to. I'm really happy with the other changes and the updates we're getting out of this ordinance that are really important, and we're really looking forward to working on the trail courtesy signage. The conflicts between bikes and peds and speed limits, I think, are super important, and we're excited about the signage plan and the implementation that's going to go along with these changes. So I have nothing further. I'm just here to answer questions.
Okay, committee members? Councilmember Anderson and Vargas.
Thank you very much. And thank you, Nicole. As you said, things do change. And so our perception or lens will get adjusted based on just furthering our values. But as far as drones, I know that we're going to be working on some of the signage when it comes to speed limits and use. It would be really nice to be able to add some signage regarding the use of drones in the parks and for safety. I know that the communication from the parent who had a child injured in a park from a drone, I think it's an important thing to address. I fully understand workload, and it's a big lift to come up with an additional ordinance with all the rules as far as where we can use drones and not, and what the policies would be. But perhaps some signage could be looked at in the interim. I think that would be an important direction to go. I've done a lot of research since this had come up on drones, and I've talked to a few individuals, and they're extremely responsible with their drone use. But I also do worry about the safety for people who may not be as skilled or informed. And our park and open space, some of them are a perfect area to be able to utilize that, and maybe some other areas are not. So not ready to direct that to be part of your workload, because I think there are some pretty substantial lifts coming through your department as it is, but hopefully it's not too far in the back burner. At least it's not tennis courts right now. But thank you again for the changes, and I would move that we approve as amended.
Okay, motion been made to amend, and Councilmember Vargas.
Thank you. I just wanted to give you a little shout out, Director Oliver, because what you brought back to us and the discussion we had really shows how community input and how testing the temperature of the public of where they're at, they let us know. They let us know what their needs are. And I just want to commend you for your response to that and looking at things. And I'm not panicked about having a zone ruling right now. I think that is something we can come to later. Obviously, that was a horrible accident, but it was a one-off, and we can't change everything because one thing happens to one person. We have to look at the majority of and the body of evidence of something. So I appreciate us taking the time to do that and doing it right. So thank you for these updates. My electric bike should be here in a week. So I'm going to be testing all these ordinances. Okay, thanks.
Okay, look out for Pinky on the trail. She's going to run you over. Is there anybody else in the council wishing to speak on this subject? My goodness. Okay, thank you, Nicole. You really did it on this one because everybody seems to be pleased.
I think Hannah had her hand up.
Hannah did? Oh, okay. Just the president. I guess I can acknowledge. Go ahead, Councilmember Stone.
Unfortunately, I don't ever have a raise hand feature, so I have to do it the old-fashioned way with my hand. I just had a quick question, Director Oliver, and I, again, would echo everything everybody said. My one point of clarification was just about fires, the change from campfires to fires and where it specifies except by written permission. I'm just thinking about parks where there's picnic areas with grills and how that's handled. Is there a requirement that you get written permission to have a picnic or a cookout when it's a designated space, or is that covered through other signage in the parks?
Yeah, the barbecues are, that was a good question. You raised that last time. I forgot about that. The barbecues are used, but the fire was specifically about any other type of bonfire, or we have permitted at least once a bonfire that had to do with a Lummi event. So I think the barbecues are a separate rule. They're allowed. Everyone knows exactly where they are, and we keep a close eye on those at nighttime and make sure that nothing is smoldering when we do our evening walkabouts. I don't think that rule had anything to do with barbecue grills.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay, seeing none, we have a motion and an ordinance amending Bellingham Municipal Code Chapter 8.04 regarding parks and trails. All those in favor will say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries unanimously. I'll report that out tonight. Back to you, Madam President.
Thank you very much. We will hold just a moment for further direction from Deputy Clerk Oakes to start our last committee meeting.